Hello, and welcome to this week's edition of the Big Money Show, brought to you by the team of Big Financial Services. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, and I'm joined by the president, Glenn Cummings. We've got a great show for you today. We know if there's one thing that makes retirees nervous, it's market volatility. The market only does one of two things. It goes up and it goes down. Now, most people love the upside of the market, but the downside, not so much. And if you're closing into retirement and worried about stock market volatility, you're going to want to stay with us to hear our conversation on that important subject today and how you can protect yourself. Glenn, my friend, Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go. It's time to talk about market volatility, right?
Yes.
So, man, I tell you what, a lot of folks just have no idea how the markets work, right? A lot of you are in 401ks, you're in investment retirement accounts, and you have no idea what to pick, what to choose, and it can be pretty confusing.
It can.
Yeah, and if you're planning to retire at some point in time in the future, in some cases you may need to have someone that can help guide that path, right? So a lot of times people, if their clients or not, will send over their statements to their 401ks and we'll review them. And based on, their comfort level with risk, we may say, hey, look, reallocate your money to something here or reallocate it there and at least give them some advice to help them. Because I've seen folks, we had a client that came in the other day and she reallocated her 401k to the money market account about 3 years ago, right? And then basically she hasn't made a change since. So all of this upside the markets have reached, she didn't actually participate in it.
Wow.
And I said, so why did you just leave it there? And she said, well, Glenn, I just didn't know what to do. I was nervous with the markets. So the reality of it is, you're exactly correct. Every single day, if you have money invested in the market, you're going to see it up one day, down the next. And it's always crazy how psychologically, when we're seeing things go up and up and up, that's when people try to invest in the markets.
Right.
But the reality of it is when there's dips in the markets or things are at a discount, that's really the time you should buy into the markets. But the benefit of a 401k is that you're doing dollar cost averaging. So as long as you're contributing and maybe getting a match from your employer, that's a pretty cool thing, right?
Right.
Because then you're buying equity positions, bonds, whatever your allocation is in your 401k, you're buying them at different prices. So it does reduce your risk overall. But like you said, when you reach that age of retirement, and if you look at a lot of these different programs, they have what they call target funds, which the companies generate themselves, that basically say that you should have a little bit less risk when you're closer to retirement, right? Because they'll push you more into, say, bonds. But bonds have really been flat the last few years. So you may have some protection from downside risk in bonds, but you're not really growing your money that well.
Right.
So a lot of you that are out there, our phones have been ringing off the hook. There's a lot of people that are concerned with volatility. They're concerned with what to do and how to do it. So our primary goal is to sit down with you and look over what you have and make some recommendations that can help you with your retirement and kind of help plan for when you're going to retire, how much income you're going to need for everyday expenses. And then I like the party account, okay? I like the account,
That paycheck account, right?
Yeah, I like the account. We can go on trips and, buy a new car when we want. So we want you to enjoy your retirement. And a lot of people we talk to right now are in a lot of fear. Yeah.
Well, it's because of all the volatility that we've had so far in this year of 2025. I think a lot of folks might be thinking, okay, should I go ahead and retire? I'm ready to retire, but can I go ahead and retire? And what happens if the market's doing crazy things right at that critical point in time? I think that's what makes a lot of folks nervous, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at 2008, that was a horrible year. You look at 2000, that's another bad year. So if you're planning on retiring in those years and your account balance is half of what it was just a few months earlier, you're not going to be able to retire and you're going to be forced to work longer. And the other problem is too, is when your account is much lower in value, it requires a lot higher returns to recoup those losses.
Yes, and we're going to talk more specifically about that and something known as sequence of returns risk and how you can safeguard yourself against that as we go on throughout today's show. But really, this whole concept of market volatility, Glenn, I know that a common analogy that is used in financial services is the idea of being on a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So before we kind of unpack that, I just have to ask you, are you a fan of roller coasters yourself?
Of course.
You love them, right?
Yes. I like the SheiKra, the one in Busch Gardens, You get all the way to the top and you're sitting there and all of a sudden it just stops, right? And you're kind of looking down and you can't really see the bottom. And out of nowhere, it just drops, okay? So exciting, but so scary too.
Right,
okay?
yes.
I mean, so I've had a few friends I've had to talk into jumping on that thing, and some love me and some don't after a while. But your retirement's kind of like that.
Yeah.
Many of us out there are sitting on the edge of this cliff, right? And that's retirement. We just can't afford to crash down on the bottom, right?
Yep.
So a lot of our strategies, a lot of our planning tools, some of them have no market risk. How would you like to know that?
Yeah.
How would you like to know that your money that you've saved is protected and you're not going to lose a dollar of it? Right?
Well, because I think a lot of folks, if we continue this roller coaster analogy, they love it when they're younger, right? And then as you get older, maybe the thrill rides aren't so fun anymore. Maybe they are a little more, they make you a little more nauseous and you didn't have that when you were younger. The same can be true with your investments, right? If you are invested with more risk when you're younger, well, it's okay because you have time on your side. You can afford to take those dips. But the closer you get to retirement, the scarier it is. You just don't have time on your side anymore to make up those losses.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing about me is when I do review people's accounts and I review their portfolios, everything they're invested in, I see a lot of problems with how they're invested. And what I mean by that is, a lot of people say, oh, the markets are up or the markets are down. You can't just give a general overview of the markets. You have to know what are you invested in the markets.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? So that's called an analysis. You call our office, you send in your statements, we'll do a complete analysis. We have certified financial planners that will do a complete analysis, show you the risk of what you have in your portfolio, show you the returns, what the expected returns are, and then a standard benchmark example. So a standard benchmark is, say, the S&P 500. If you don't know the S&P 500, it's primarily the top 500 companies, right? Large cap companies. So you see mid cap, small cap, large cap. We like to focus on the top large cap positions, right? Because the whole S&P 500, that's all 500 companies, right? I want my growth to my money. If I want growth, I'm going to probably look at some of those top 30 companies, right? And I'm going to own individual equity positions in those companies. So many of you that are out there that have investments, 401ks, you're like, wait a minute. I'd like to pick those top 30 companies too. Let me go look into my 401k. Oh, it's not available. It's not available. And those portfolios in some cases have done significantly better than just what you have in a 401k. So what are people able to do? Generally, they can roll over a portion or all of their 401k to an outside IRA that has those individual equity positions in top 30 large cap companies that are very safe, in my opinion, very secure, right? These companies hopefully aren't going out of business tomorrow. But when you diversify in mid caps, small caps, these are much smaller companies. You may be able to get better growth or returns in those portfolios, but you also have a lot more risk possibly. And of course, bonds really haven't performed that well with all the fluctuations in interest rates. So these are some things we'll share with clients. Usually it's a 3 or 4 meeting process at my office in Tampa. And we show you everything on the big screen TV and have a cup of coffee. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, but it really helps people get a full picture of what they have and we educate them on what's available that can hopefully help them grow their money better and kind of get prepared for that retirement journey and reducing that risk of all the mid caps, small caps, international bonds. A lot of those things are kind of risky. So you want to allocate, I'd say, when you get close to your retirement years, in more of the larger companies.
Yes, well, you said it best. In order to know how to put yourself in a better financial situation, you have to know where you're starting from. Do you know how you're currently invested? Do you know how much risk you are currently taking? Are you, like Glenn described, at the top of that roller coaster looking down and afraid of what could be coming? If so, we encourage you to reach out. The team of Big Financial Services is here to help and support you. This is for no cost, no charge, no obligation. It's simply an invitation to have a conversation to see how they can help and serve you. And it starts by you picking up the phone and calling to schedule your very own complimentary written financial plan. 888-503-7408 is the number to call, or you're welcome to scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. We'll be back with more on market volatility and how to protect yourself and your retirement right after this.
So you have a 401k with a former employer. Great, fantastic. You know, that means you've been able to accumulate some wealth, it's growing, but the problem is you don't have a lot of investment options that may be available to you, except for what's in that 401k. So what's the best option that we see in a lot of cases? For clients to simply roll that over. No taxes, they simply roll that over to another IRA if you have an IRA account. And once that money rolls over, you can look at other options that may be available that you're not even aware of. Sit down with a professional, someone that can help you look over that 401k and either stay in the current plan or look to roll that over to where you may have better options that may help improve your retirement in the future. Look at reducing those taxes, look at getting a great income plan. That's something our company loves to do for folks. We love to share them with you. Please give us a call today. Imagine not having to face your retirement journey with those same old corporate solutions like everyone else has. In these economic times, you deserve a fresh perspective that includes personalized income planning and some independent thinking from an experienced fiduciary advisor who will focus on you. Call today for your complimentary review.
Welcome back. You're watching The Big Money Show. I'm your host, Kristen Oakley, here with the president of Big Financial Services, Glenn Cummings. We're so glad you're joining us today. If you are just tuning in, Glenn and I have been talking all about market volatility and roller coasters. Again, this analogy that a lot of folks are heading into retirement and they are on a roller coaster track, and Glenn, they don't know what's coming, and that's terrifying because we know that the stock market could take dips at any point in time. Yep. And if someone's not protected and safeguarded against that, they can't afford to lose their hard-earned money. So I know you mentioned earlier in the show that there's a way and there's some financial tools available to help people protect more of their wealth. So talk a little bit about how that works.
Well, a lot of us, when we want to protect our assets or when the markets are volatile, a lot of people can put their money into a money market account. Right? Money market account is pulling you away from the volatility of the markets. Right. It's more of a short-term place that you should keep your money. Another place you could put your money is in annuities, right? So a lot of people don't understand annuities. There are fixed annuities, which can pay a guaranteed fixed rate of return for a period of time. There's also something called a fixed indexed annuity that will protect your principal from the market risk and also give you some of the upside of the markets based on the indexes you choose, right? So that also is pretty nice. And a lot of those have what they call free withdrawal provisions. So not only do I protect my principal from market risk,
right?
Reduce fees. A lot of these have low fees or zero fees at all. And they allow you a free withdrawal provision to take income from that annuity. And a lot of people, what they're familiar with is called a pension. Well, a pension is an annuity.
Right, which a lot of people don't realize, because what's so interesting to me is you'll hear people say, I love my pension, I love my Social Security check, but I hate annuities. And people don't don't understand that those two things, pensions and Social Security, are in fact an annuity, right? Like, how do you define what an annuity is if someone comes in and they just have this, mind block against it?
Well, many folks, when they come into the office, they're close to retirement and they get all these forms in the mail. And there's some forms that say, hey, this is your pension. It's going to be this much money per month. And by the way, if you pass away and you want to have your wife have some of this income, she gets 20% less. And, so that's called a pension. And many people choose that.
Right.
Many people choose that. And when I meet with folks and they're sitting there getting this pension hitting their bank account every month, guaranteed the rest of their lives, Social Security hitting their bank accounts, hopefully the rest of our lives, okay, as long as it stays solvent, right? People are really comfortable with that. So that's called an annuity. It's called a pension. But the problem is, and I think where the conflict of interest is that when you elect those pensions generally from an employer, you're giving up that big lump sum of money, right? You give it to an insurance company, generally behind the scenes, and they'll pay the payments out, right?
Right.
But I don't ever want to just give up my cash. So what I like to do, and most people don't even know you can do this, is take the lump sum option, roll it over to a different type of annuity that can pay you income, right? But if you pass away early, instead of the money going to the insurance company, it can go to your beneficiaries, right? So I never want to give up all of my cash or all of my investments for a check. I'd like to get the check. I like to get the check and, like you said, take a cruise on the roller coaster and have an ending where it's a good ending at the end.
Yeah.
So if I can have one of those type of annuities that is going to pay me a pension or an income that'll never run out, but also if I were to pass away early in my life, at least money goes to beneficiaries.
Right. And I guess the key is too that it's not putting all of your money into any one of these things.
Absolutely
But you
not.
said earlier, we talked about, the play check, the fund money.
Yeah.
Well, once you know that your income is going to be covered in a guaranteed source, then the rest of it can take that roller coaster ride and it can subject itself to that volatility. And that's okay because your needs are covered, right?
Absolutely. So if you were to say, I have this chunk of money in retirement, but I'm going to take half of it and I'm going to put it into something that's going to grow guaranteed for a future guaranteed income, and I can look and see what that income amount will be for me and my spouse, guaranteed, right? From the life insurance company. Of course, this all depends on the claim paying ability of the life insurance company. You've got to overlook their ratings. All those things we'll do and as a team together, me, you, and of course the team. But I know what that income is going to be in the future. And a lot of these have what they call roll-ups, right? Or riders that will help cover future income guaranteed. So then I take my other half of money and I'm going to probably look at some good equity positions, some of the big larger companies, and have good institutional management that's going to help oversee that, but also give me full liquidity to that half of money that I can go enjoy and spend. And if this money ever runs out, right? You just give me a phone call and you're like, hey, Glenn, I'd like to turn on that annual income for my wife and I, and it's right there ready to be turned on. So, but what we see is a lot of people, whenever they're investing the money properly on the institutional side, right? And they're in great equity positions. Of course, that side of things has risk. This side has no risk. But on this side over here, I'm not worried about taking a little bit more risk in equity positions, especially if they're large cap companies that have been around a long time. They have retained earnings, right? And a lot of cases, people are taking distributions from this, and it's still there 10 years from now. Matter of fact, it's bigger.
Right.
So they weren't worried, right? Because what hurts us in the markets is when the markets are down and you sell, then you lose, right? So you do want to have not all your eggs in one basket. I love the markets. I love the opportunity for growing my money over time and keeping up with inflation, but also like the fact that I can have this money parked here to provide those future guarantees. Now, is everyone the same? Absolutely not. I've got some people that are all market people and they just want their money to grow and they want it to do better than anyone in town, and we'll share with you some ideas there. And an annuity may not be the best option for you. Maybe it's dividend paying stocks that are going to pay you some nice dividends to generate that income. So there's all kinds of strategies that are available. The key is we're going to share all of them with you over 2, 3, 4 meetings right at my office in Tampa. We're going to have a cup of coffee, give you everything to bring home, and most people love that transparency.
No, for sure. And again, no two plans are alike. So what would be right for you? Well, that's why there's no substitute for sitting down in the financial planning environment, looking at what you have, what you need to have, and then putting together that right strategy to meet your income needs and to make sure that you are protected against market volatility. So to schedule your time to come in and receive your complimentary written financial plan, all you need to do is call 888-503-7408, or if you'd like to connect online, simply scan that QR code and that will get you connected as well. When we come back, we're going to talk about sequence of returns risk and how you can safeguard yourself from it right after this.
So you own a 401k, you have an IRA, you have a tax-deferred account, an account where you put in pre-tax dollars and it grew tax-deferred and it's grown to quite a bit of money. And then you reach this ripe old age of required minimum distributions where the government requires you to take out money, a percentage of that account. And as you get older, they require you to take a larger percentage of that account that is 100% fully taxable to you at ordinary income tax rates. I see this all the time. Families are completely devastated, but now they're forced to take those distributions. What do? We look at Roth conversions, folks. Roth conversions give you the opportunity to get out of those tax-deferred IRA accounts. Look at a Roth conversion. Are these easy to do? No. Sit down with someone today and figure out, hey, what's my option that's available to get me out of this large taxable account? What are the options available? We can share that with you. Please give our office a call.
Welcome back. You're watching The Big Money Show, and we are discussing today how to safeguard yourself from market volatility. We know it can be really scary, especially as you are approaching and entering retirement. You've worked so hard your whole life, and success in retirement isn't about how much you have, it's about how much you get to keep, and we want to help you protect that hard-earned money. Glenn, I know we've talked about sequence of returns risk throughout today's show. Can you please define that for our viewers, and then walk us through when someone does come in to meet with you and they are feeling that nervousness about what the markets may or may not be doing, how you walk them through this process?
Well, in a lot of cases, when you talk about sequence of returns and you look at volatility, you look at how long people have had accounts. In a lot of cases, what we do is we say, okay, based on this portfolio, if we're looking at our 401k, this sequence of return, or this average rate of return, I call it, is this much.
Right.
But the problem is that you don't really see a lot of the lower volatility and the higher volatility. Sometimes that average rate or sequence doesn't make a lot of sense because sometimes people be like, wait, how'd I go from 100,000 down to 50? Right.
Yeah.
But I need to make 100% next year just to recoup because I'm at 50,000 now.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of times what you need to have is a complete analysis. So if we have certified financial planners, if you're going to get an analysis done, it can be pretty expensive depending on who you're talking to, right? So with our company, we actually do a complimentary free analysis on your portfolio. And what clients simply do is they can either my assistant Dee can send them a document share link, and that document share link, they can simply upload their statements. The statements come directly to my team. We have certified financial planners that will do a complete analysis. And it's going to show the risk. It's going to show the sequence of returns risk. It's going to show the duration of your bonds that you own. It's going to show how much of your money is overseas. It's going to show how much you're in mid caps, small caps. It's going to show the overall risk that's associated. And it's going to also compare that to a standard benchmark like an S&P 500 index, which most people that are out there that are larger financial planners say just pick an S&P 500 index and write out the markets. And if you do, you're going to make 10 to 12%, which is an average. But we like to look over those portfolios and we like to say, let's just pick the cream of the crop. I want the cream of the crop in my portfolio. I want those top 30 large cap companies that are driving the entire S&P that aren't up 10 to 12%. They're up 2 to 3 times that. Right?
Right.
Now, none of us can predict the future.
Yes, no one has a crystal ball.
None of us has a crystal ball.
Right.
But I'm going to pick those positions that can provide me better growth over time, less risk over time, and I'm going to get an analysis done to see what my fees, my costs, my taxes are. And this is all a part of our complimentary written financial plan. So, and it's no charge. So we've been so busy. Folks are calling in like nonstop. Get on our calendar, give us a call. We can set up a Zoom. You can come into the office and meet the staff. We're a very laid back group. We have a great team. We'd love to help each and every one of you. And getting an analysis done and seeing what your risks are, seeing what the growth opportunity is, and making sure you can catch up to being where you want to be at a certain date and time to quit working.
Yes.
And make sure that income's always going to be there for you.
Right, because I think that's the thing that a lot of folks are nervous about is they're so used to working and getting that paycheck, but now it's up to you once you retire to generate that paycheck for yourself, and you want to make sure that you have enough to last you throughout the rest of your life. You can really only do that when you have a solid plan in place, and I also really appreciate that this is not a cookie cutter approach because no two people are alike, no two situations are alike. All these plans are customized and personalized, right?
Yeah, we have what we call a questionnaire, and that questionnaire is a few pages. It takes us a few minutes to complete. But by the time we're done with that questionnaire, that's going to tell us, what is this client looking for? What are their goals? What are their concerns? What are the areas that we can help improve their retirement? And then we're going to build customized plans, 2 or 3, and we're going to give them copies that they can take home, they can read, they can review. And then the next meeting, we'll go over all of their questions. The third meeting, we generally bring them on as a client. So we're excited to work with all of you. Give us a call. Love being here in Tampa Bay. I mean, this is the coolest place in the world. Hopefully you guys will see my boat out there on the water at some point. We call it Mr. Big, right? So it's a Mr. Big boat, the Big Money Show. Just a lot of fun doing this every single day, blessing clients, and such a great opportunity.
Well, and you were sharing with me before the show started that you have a long-term client who watches the show every week, right?
Yes. She watches the show every week. She's been DVRing it. They have a little group of friends that get around. So hopefully when she's watching this show, she'll remember we called her out. And of course, they all love you.
Aww.
Okay, the host of the show. I mean, you're so fantastic. Thank you,
Glenn.
for doing this today with me. Appreciate
Absolutely.
it,
Well, it's an important conversation, and we know that you might have questions about your own financial situation. Again, you don't have to go it alone. The team of Big Financial Services is here to help and serve you, but you have to reach out and call. This is not a plan that can just be sent off the shelf. Each plan is built on a blank sheet of paper and built specifically for you. We encourage you to schedule your time today by calling 888-503-7408, or again, you're welcome to scan that QR code. Thanks so much for watching, and we look forward to being back with you next time here on The Big Money Show.